In that moment, I lost everything I had ever known. In that moment, I lost an entire world.
Attempting this tunathon is Mick Gerwat of Leeds. He started tinkling and tuning yesterday morning and hopes to keep going until Sunday morning. Well, Mick's 35, has his own piano tuning business and is blind.
Before I went deaf, I could go anywhere. I worked in France, I worked in Holland, and I worked for the top rock bands, Elton John, Genesis, Queen, the list goes on and on. We had some good times, and although I was blind, I could get about, I could go on ferries across the sea, nothing bothered me.
Michael was actually born sighted, but unfortunately he was given 100% oxygen due to the fact he was a premature baby. 100% oxygen to prem babies produces a condition called retrolental fibroplasia, which produces total blindness.
It wasn't a disability as we would imagine it being a disability, because he'd got this other gift, this gift of sound, which you couldn't move about the room without him knowing, even if you tiptoed.
He was really fun to be with. He was always joking and making me laugh. And the music was wonderful. He knew everything. We'd go out to a pub or to a restaurant. If there was music in the background, he could tell me every artist, what they were singing, when it was recorded. And this is wonderful for me. He introduced me to so much that I hadn't heard before.
The day that Mick went completely deaf destroyed his life as he knew it. Completely, because it took away his music.
A mutual friend of ours told me that he had gone deaf, and it was devastating to us and those people who knew him, because we realised that that one great gift that he'd got that set him apart had gone. And he was lost. And I dreaded seeing him again, actually, because I knew how badly he would feel about it and how devastated he would be.
Michael is presumed to have gone deaf due to a virus infection of the cochlear, which is the organ of hearing. And because the cochlear stopped working, effectively the nerve to the brain doesn't have any nerve impulses to conduct, and the patient goes completely and profoundly deaf.
We had no idea what was coming. He had strange symptoms which were never diagnosed by the medical profession. He was in hospital for a week for tests, and they couldn't find anything wrong with him. And they said it was psychological. They said, have you got problems in your marriage? We'd only been married about 6 months.
Anybody can catch this. He's just extremely unlucky to have caught it.
It was a desperate time, hoping that we'd find something to stop his hearing going entirely. I came home from the hospital and I think I just cried all night. It was a great bereavement, really. It was, to me, the end of our life. I thought, that's it, my life's finished as well as Mick's.
I'm sitting on a dining room chair. I can feel a draft on my right, so I would assume that the window's on my right. You might be here, you might be there. The lads and lasses might be here, here or here. I just can't tell. I really can't. I have no idea, no conception. I would have had, if I'd have had my full hearing, I'd have known straight away. But I can't now. For all I know, half the crew could be upstairs leaping around in the office, bouncing on the computer, and I wouldn't know. I lost my mobility. I lost my dignity because I lost the ability to be able to talk to and fro with people. I lost my dignity because people treated me as if I was a cuddly bear, or as if they didn't want to talk to me, or they would run away from me because they could not even cope talking to me through Pat. People I thought were good friends of mine, people I thought would think a lot of me, just disappeared and said how sorry they were, and the other half said how they were praying for me. I'd rather have had less praying and more saying, to be honest.
They didn't know how to handle it. I think it's like when someone dies and is bereaved and people don't know what to say to them. So in order to avoid the embarrassment, they go in the other direction and just sort of walk away.
When it hits you, when it actually happens, and when you've got no sight as well, remember. And there's no world, no night, no day, nothing to relate to, only touch or smell or taste. And things go on around you and you can sense they are. You feel the air as a human being passes in front of you like this. You feel the draft. You feel the draft of someone by your shoulder. They make you jump when they tap you because you've no idea where they are. And you just curl up into your own world because no one can talk to you. Life is a prison unless things are arranged for you, and when they're arranged you feel like being led about like a dog. So yes, in prison, solitary confinement, I suppose. I'm always on my own, even in a crowd. So I'm on my own all day. Doesn't matter where I am, still on my own. Not able to know the world, only touch things that are put in front of me, eat things that are put in front of me, feel things that are given to me, or take messages on my hand. The rest is totally non-existent, apart from in my mind when I dream at nights. Then I can hear. Then my hearing comes back, and it's absolutely wonderful. And I wake up and there's nothing there.
I think there were many times when he wanted to die. He would have been happy to go to bed at night and not wake up in the morning. I don't know whether he seriously contemplated taking his life. I think if he'd been on his own, I think he would have done. He was very depressed.
If I died, it would be much better because she could have her own freedom and she'd have her life back again instead of having to drag me around like some useless piece of sucking, which is really almost what I was, because I could only respond to information given to me. I would sit for hours and just not talk or say anything or bother with anything and just sit in a chair. And I was going down and down a slippery slide very fast.
I think it's very hard for anyone to realise the impact of something like Mick going deaf and what it meant to our lives. We were so full of hope and optimism for the future. We were so happy in the first few months. And we had everything to live for. We'd both come through divorces and we were just looking forward to some happiness. And Mick wanted to make my life easier.
Fine, this lettuce, I can cut it straight up this, can't I? This, yeah, I thought so.
He knew I was going out to work and had the family. He wanted to share in that and help me and support me. and do a lot to take the burden off me. And instead of that, this tragedy of him going deaf meant it was more difficult. I don't think anybody can know what we went through.
Okay, sweetheart. Had a good day. Job, career disappeared because piano tuning takes very good hearing. So, I mean, that disappeared within the space of a week. So my job was absolutely finished. And it's worth noting that I didn't get a penny for 6 months because of that. My wife had to support me all that time because of the clumsy benefit system we have in this country. So my dignity, my independence to pay my way has just disappeared.
We're just like babes in the wood. We'd just sit and commiserate, and we couldn't see a way forward. I did think of giving up work and stay at home and be his guide, and he persuaded me, thankfully, to keep my job, and that's been very sound advice. So I always had the satisfaction of going to work and getting out of the house, and he was very lonely at home. So in the evenings and weekends, I would spend all the time with him.
That's better. I suppose the big overwhelming emotion is that you can't get to anybody. And as a person who had a outgoing and strong personality as I used to have, I feel that I've just been completely constricted.
Right. Press return. Pat and Mick. Sounds like a pair of road menders, doesn't it? Having an ice time. Well, it must be winter. Sorry, you mean nice. An ice.
You have this terrible need to be loved, almost to be cuddled, to be hugged, because it's touch. It's the only way I can truly communicate with somebody. Sex is a beautiful, close, warm, loving thing. You can show to that person a real passion that I cannot express as much as I used to when I used to put a record on or write a romantic song. Fine, can't do any of that now. And you don't get much passion out of Guardian crosswords and card games, you know? So, and it's a very difficult thing.
It has put a strain on the relationship mainly because of the extra burden on me, the time involved. There is a lot to do, working full time and having to balance the needs of Mick with the needs of my family. Can you hear what I am saying?
Yes, a bit, yes. What comes out as watch, but apart from that. When I first began to go deaf, we read an article about the cochlear implant and how it was fitted inside the inner ear. And I said, oh, I'll never need that, it's so primitive. They say in this article that it takes months and months to learn speech. I'll have to be pretty desperate to have one of those. It's weird. It probably clarifies itself once it gets sorted out.
Yes. Can you try pressing?
In Michael's case, he has a little implant in this organ, in the cochlear, with only 22 wires which pass along where the nerve should be to where the nerve is attached to the brain. Instead of having hundreds of thousands, indeed millions of little wires conducting the nerve impulses towards the auditory cortex, that's the part of the brain responsible for sound, he only has 22. And therefore, bass and treble are completely absent. He hears a very poor approximation for sound.
It was the most disgusting and horrible noise I'd ever heard in my life. It was like burying you in a jellyfish. It was awful. It sounded just like wobbly jelly. Terrible. I could pick out speech very, very slightly the first day, but there was lots of whistling and bubbling and just as if you'd been stuffed underwater. That lasted for about a month or two until my brain got used to the fact that this is what hearing was going to be like, and that backwash disappeared. And then I was able to interpret. I was warned very severely before I had the implant. Don't expect music and don't expect anything beautiful because you won't get it. If I can pick out the track, I've got to find out where I am first. Should be somewhere in the right direction. 20 years ago, give or take a day or two, was the first time I ever heard Trick of the Tail, and that was to make such a difference to my life, although I didn't know it then. It was just so devastating. Entangled, I suppose, was the one. We played that at our wedding, funny enough. There we are. Took a lot of doing. I would have known it much quicker in the days when I could hear. This poor LP has gone through so much, like me. I can't even hear the guitars in the background over the rooftops and houses, lost as it tries to be seen. No tune. Bloody nothing.
Mesmerized children now play, meant to be seen but not heard. Stop me from dreaming, don't be absurd.
Sense the rhythm. I know what should bloody well be there. How could your eyes become? I know the words so well. I know where they should be. And I know what it bloody isn't. Shouldn't say that either. I promised I wouldn't. The hell with it. Hell, all this scent has been through and I can't... God. So beautiful. You all must know that. It isn't to me, it sounds like someone's done something rather terrible to the cat, to be honest. It sounds so long and so far away, and when I think of that hot summer day when I first heard the bloody thing, and even in those damn days things were difficult. No, music is the greatest loss I will ever bloody have, and so's this. And yet it's there, I can't get at it. The centre's producing it beautifully, I know it must be. There's a new needle in that bloody thing. It's years since I've used this snagging centre. God, it can make me bloody weep. It's not fair. Just not bloody fair. All these people out there, people moan about stupid little things, and yet they've got music to listen to like this. Damn silly. Absolutely crazy. I think I shall take her off now. Have much more of that, I will break down. Such a great... It took so long to get all that stuff. So long. The years of difficulty when I had nothing. And I that poor old LP in the state it's in. I always wanted that on CD, and I never got that. I was going to. Damn flipping good job I didn't. But to hell. No point in worrying about it. I've got to go on. If I want to, that is. But Obi-Wan will let me. He'll help me somehow. Something will help me go on. I can't replace music, but I'll tell you what, I don't know. I just don't know. It just brings a lot to the surface, so much. How can I explain to people? How can I explain to any of you what it feels like? How can I explain to anybody? Even if you went without music and lived on an island for 2 days, you could always get the bloody stuff back, couldn't you? I can't. And that's it. And there's no point in whining about it because there's nothing I can do. I can't change things. Nothing can change things. But it doesn't stop me thinking it's blooming unfair.
Stand your ground. Patterns of the force have reached the nexus.
Now I could actually plug my implant directly into the computer, and then in that way I could listen to things, and that is when my dear stepdaughter, bless her, bought me the first new book of Star Wars, just when I just had the implant, and I scanned it, and that's when I began to get back in just a little bit of the world I'd once known, and I think that was such a wonderful moment to be able to do that and sit and listen to it.
By striking me down, you have made me more powerful than you can possibly imagine.
Although so much has happened to me, and although I have been struck down, when I do really finally emerge, and I'm beginning to do so now, really emerge, when I climb to the top and look out upon the fresh air of the world and imagine and feel that sense of freedom, that line will stay with me till the end of my days.
Dear Emmanuel, I am so happy today I have at last got my robe. Oh joy, oh bliss, oh rapture. You should see it.
When I use the internet, of course, I can't touch people on there, but I can know what they say to me and feel their warmth in their words. I talk to any and everyone. I've got letters from Argentina, America and Ohio. I've got letters from Germany and, of course, the UK. I am proud to say that I was the first deafblind person in the UK to be on the internet. And when I'm feeling really lonely, the letters can be quite passionate, because just because I'm deaf and blind, it doesn't mean I have no sense of passion. In fact, it means I have far more. You let out what you've got to say. What's passionately beating within my heart is let out. And the person across the ocean will respond in like. And it's just words on a screen.
Very shallowy. I hope you are keeping well, as I am, especially now with the robe. All I need now is a lightsaber.
Nice to see you, sir.
Wrong direction, what do you do?
Fine.
Come in.
Mick and I have made a life. I wouldn't have believed, perhaps 5 years ago, where we'd be now and how satisfied Mick could be. I'm not saying that it's all wonderful. He'd give up everything if he could have his hearing back. But in the circumstances, he's really struggled not to drag me down and to try and build some kind of meaningful life for himself.
When I was a child, I had my head beat.
There's plenty more caves where these came from.
Garlic bread.
The garlic bread.
Oh!
I'm going to open that garlic
I mean,
bread.
I admit I'm just charmingly depraved.
Yeah. Well, Mick, you're in the right company.
I love it.
You were saying about going to Scotland and how you were going to cope with it and the journey and everything.
I think you'll have to speak a little slower,
Oh,
more
right, sorry.
precisely.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, is that Lucy?
No, it's Jill.
Sue?
Jill,
Oh, yes, Sue.
you're going to tell us all about your trip to Scotland.
Oh, I'm going there tomorrow morning. I've got to be crack of dawn, trains at 7:10. No problem, plenty of coffee on the railway. I'm still frustrated that I can't hear music. I'm still frustrated that I can't go out on my own. But I have to look forward. It's no good looking back anymore. And the cochlear implant has given me a boost to be able to build some sort of a life and do something useful for the community and maybe make some use of myself in this world.
The Day That Changed My Life returns next Monday at the earlier time of 7:30. If you'd like to submit an idea to the Community Programmes Unit, please write to P.O. Box 5045, London W3 6WY.